Alhamdulillah.
It's messed up. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد. We stopped last week in the book Al-Ahkam. Al-Ahkam. And we started the chapter of Taharah, Kitab al-Taharah, with the first hadith that all actions are by intentions and everyone will get what they intended. إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى. And we discussed a little about the different levels of the intention, right? The different levels that the niyyah does for an action. What does the niyyah do for an action? Tayyib. One of those things was that it distinguishes between two things. That the niyyah, mathalan, if somebody came in here and prayed 2 rak'ah, mathalan, or let's use Salat al-Fajr because it's easy. Somebody comes in for Salat al-Fajr and they pray 2 rak'ah when they come through the door, right? That those 2 rak'ah could be what? Could it be Salat al-Fajr, or could be Tahiyyat al-Masjid, or Sunnah for Fajr, right? It could be 3 different things. 3 different things that those 2 rak'ah could be if a person comes for Salat al-Fajr. It could be that they're coming to pray Fajr. Maybe they think we already prayed. It could be anything, right? Maybe they're praying their Fajr, their Sunnah for Fajr, or they could be doing their Tahiyyat al-Masjid. What's going to distinguish which of the 3 that they're praying is the intention. So it distinguishes between ibadat. This is one thing. And it distinguishes between worship. What level of worship is it? Is this an obligatory thing? Is it something that's sunnah that you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at the person pray? Or another example for that could be where you can't tell. What is an example where you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at the person if they're doing something that is obligatory? Really, you can use anything. It could be anything that a person's doing, right? You don't have the ability, we don't have the ability to tell if it's their obligatory action that they're doing or if it's sunnah, for example, except of course outside on the 6 days. They could be finishing their 6 days, Shawwal, which is sunnah, right? Either way, we wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at them. And for them, the distinguishing factor is going to be the intention. No, it's up to you. The distinguishing factor is going to be the niyyah for the person. If they intended to fast, their intention is to just cool off, right? You with me? Sometimes people just go, I just got to take a shower real quick. It's too hot. Take a shower, cool off, sit under the air for a few hours, then I'm going to come back out, right? If that's the intention, then that's the intention. Then they didn't make a ghusl, or they didn't make the ghusl in order that if they needed to make a ghusl to pray.
You have double niyyah?
A double niyyah. It depends what you're trying to do.
Sometimes you put the ghusl. Cool off, you want to do the ghusl.
Like that ghusl do you need it? Meaning, is it a ghusl janaba? Can you pray without that ghusl?
So you can't.
If you can't pray without that ghusl, right, then your niyyah should be for the one that is a'la, the one that has the greater I don't say greater value, but the one that holds more weight, we'll say. Meaning, if you go and just take a cool-off shower, that's not going to allow you to do anything when it comes to worship. If you needed to make a ghusl, if you needed to make a ghusl for janaba, and you just got in the shower and just washed up to cool off, you didn't really benefit yourself as far as being able to pray. Right? In that case, as we say, you kill two birds with one stone. If you made the intention for the bigger qas, the ghusl, then it's going to cool you off anyway. Right? But you don't want to make intention for cooling off, and then you still got to make another. You got to do it all over for a ghusl. Right? Or if a person was hot and they went to the sink, the wudu station, and they start cleaning off, they're just wetting themselves. And they hit all the body parts for wudu. They might even go in the same order. Or one even closer, a person is teaching somebody how to make wudu, but they're not really trying to, the intention is not to make wudu, I'm just trying to show you how to make wudu. Right? Person goes back to the sink, they wash all of the parts of wudu, but they never made the intention to make wudu. The niyyah is what is going to distinguish between what is this, a habit, something we do out of habit, and something that we're doing as an act of worship, the niyyah. Tayyib. Today, the next hadith is عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يقبل الله صلاة أحدكم إذا أحدث حتى يتوضأ. Al-Bukhari. That Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said that the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam said that Allah does not accept the salat of one of you if they ahdath hatta yatawadda. And the two words ahdath is what we say break wudu, right? Or some people say nullify. Or we say, all right, I broke my wudu. Right? So the hadith says that Allah does not accept the salat of any of you if he breaks his wudu, his or her wudu. The salat is not accepted once a person breaks their wudu until they do what? Make wudu again. Tayyib. Now these are hadith, these books are or exercise-wise is for the brain, is that looking at this hadith, we want to look at the benefits from this hadith. The benefits we want to pull out are restricted to this hadith, not another hadith. Just what's in front of us. Tayyib. Only what's in front of us. Tayyib. Number one, Abu Hurairah. What's Abu Hurairah's real name? Abu Hurairah, the famous companion. His real name, Abu Hurairah, is his kunya. Anybody know his real name? Abu Hurairah. Abdurrahman bin Sakhr. Abdurrahman bin Sakhr. And the ulama differ on his name, but this is the most famous opinion. Aslama an Khaybar, that he accepted Islam the year of the battle of Khaybar, Sana Sab'a min al-Hijrah, the 7th year after the Hijrah. The 7th year after the Hijrah. وَلَزِمَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَكَانَ مِنْ أَحْفَظِ الصَّحَابَةِ. And he was from the Sahaba who memorized the most hadith. He was from the Sahaba who memorized the most hadith. He stayed in Medina, and he died in Medina the year 59. وهو ابن ثمان وسبعين سنة. And he was 78 when he died. He was 78 years old, rahimahullah, or radiallahu anhu, when he died, Abu Hurairah. Abu Hurairah said that he heard the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say that Allah does not accept the salat of anybody when they break their wudu until they make wudu again. Tayyib. What does the hadith show? What does this hadith prove? What is this hadith a proof for specifically? Or a dalil? What does this hadith prove to us? Only from what we're looking at. Not from another hadith, only from this hadith. Huh? Again? You have to be in a state of Taharah to make salah. Tayyib. What else does it prove? These are not trick questions, y'all. These are not trick questions. It's not. It ain't a trick question. But, huh? What does this hadith prove? This is a proof for what? He said it's a proof to show that you have to be in a state of purification in order to pray. Now, the question is, how do you get that from this hadith? This is how the ulama extract, when they say extract rulings from the hadith. Look at this hadith in front of us only. Based on this hadith, he says that you got to be in the state of Taharah, purification, in order to pray. Based on what in the hadith? The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah doesn't accept the salah of the one who broke his wudu. Until what? Until he makes wudu again. Therefore, if the wudu is broken, the salah is not accepted. Clear? This hadith proves that. It could be something else in another hadith, which is fine, but this hadith only. We're only talking about this hadith. This hadith proves that if a person breaks wudu, the salat is invalid. They can't pray like that until they make wudu again. Tayyib. What else? Huh? Yes? You have to have the intention to make wudu? Where do you get that from this hadith? Tayyib. That you have to have an intention to make wudu. Tayyib. Meaning, if a person broke their wudu, and then they went to the sink and washed their hands and did all that, but they didn't make the intention. Tayyib. Mumkin. Tayyib. What else? In order for action to be accepted, that it has to be in accordance with the sunnah of the Prophet. Where do you get that from this hadith? That's extra information. That's sahih. But from this hadith, in this wording that we're looking at, Allah does not accept the salat of anybody that breaks their wudu until they make wudu again. Where do we pull from those words that the wudu has to be according to the sunnah? We're not saying the wudu doesn't. I'm saying from this. You understand? Point is to restrict your benefits you pull from this text. Right? It's benefits in other hadith, yes, but we're talking about from this text. That you got to be in the state of wudu in order to pray. Tayyib. What else? The salat is going to be rejected. Can the salat, that the salat can be rejected. The salat can be rejected. Meaning every time a person prays, is it necessary that the salat is accepted? Huh? Every time a person prays, the salat is accepted? Not necessarily. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, La yaqbalullah, that Allah doesn't accept the salat. But which salat is it? The one that somebody prays and they're not in the state of Taharah. That's not accepted. Well then, clear? What else? He mentioned something specific in here. This hadith is a dalil for something specific. That what? Allah doesn't accept the salat of any person that broke wudu until they make wudu. Huh?
I'm trying to derive this particular wording.
Only from this wording. If you what? If you break your wudu during the salat, then you got to make wudu again. Tayyib, mumkin. Tayyib. Tayyib. He says, ما يؤخذ من الحديث. Some things taken from the hadith. إن الصلاة المحدث لا تقبل حتى يتطهر من الحدثين الأكبر والأصغر. That the salat of a person who breaks their wudu is not accepted until they purify themselves from either the major impurity or the minor impurity. Clear? Salat is not accepted unless once somebody is out of a state of purification, until they have to re-purify themselves. This hadith proves what though? They call it sugar. You gotta get the wheels turning. Huh? You can't be heedless. Huh. No doubt. That's what he said. Huh?
That you make a mistake, that you can always go back and correct the mistake.
Tayyib, but it's something specific. Yeah. Yeah. That's the word in the hadith.
Take your guess. Think if you don't break the rule, then you still don't lose, then you still break.
No doubt. If you don't break your wudu, then you still don't lose, you still break. Tayyib. This hadith is a proof for, number one, what is hadith? Ahdath. He said ahdath. What is breaking your wudu? Number one. Because he talks about hadithain. He says hadithain. You got to make taharah from hadithain, either hadith al-akbar or hadith al-asghar. Hadith. How do we know if he's in wudu or not? How do you know if I'm in wudu or if I'm not in wudu? Huh? Huh?
Unless it's loud enough for somebody to hear it. That's it.
Unless it's loud enough for somebody to hear it. Just looking at a person, how do you know if they're in wudu or not? You don't know. You don't know. Tayyib. Therefore, when I say hadith, or what we call the state of purification, is not something that you can see on a person. You with me? We say, are you in wudu? That's why we gotta ask. Are you in wudu? Because you can't tell by looking at them, right? Hadith. So hadith, that state can either be a major state, which requires a ghusl, a whole body bath, or it could be a minor state, which requires what? Wudu. Tayyib, hadith. It's a wasf, it's a description. It's a description. The state of wudu is a description that we give each other based on something we can't see. It's a description. Tayyib. In this hadith, he says that the salat is not accepted if a person, ahdath, they're out of a state of wudu until they what? Make wudu. Which means this hadith is a proof for which hadith? The minor. This is not a proof for a man who has intercourse with his wife. You with me? This is a proof for the minor hadith. Al-hadith al-asghar. The small, the minor hadith. Because wudu doesn't remove hadith al-akbar. Wudu doesn't remove it. If a man is intimate with a wife or a wife is with her husband, then they have to make ghusl. It's not enough to make wudu. This hadith is a proof for what? The minor form of impurity. That's why at the end the Prophet ﷺ said, well, you tell me. Hatta yatawadda. The salah is not valid, the one who breaks wudu, until he what? Makes wudu again. Therefore, if a person made wudu and they cool, that means they were in a minor state. They weren't in the major state. If they were in the major state, then they would have to make a ghusl. Clear? The wording in the hadith is hatta yatawadda. That word right there shows that this hadith points to the minor state of wudu, not the major state of hadith. طيب, he says, secondly, إن الحدث ناقض للوضوء ومبطل للصلاة إن كان فيها. As somebody said that the hadith, what is the hadith again? The hadith is in English. Hadith, what is hadith? The minor impurity? La. Hadith. Hadith. It's two forms of hadith. the major form, akbar and asghar. But what is hadith? What do we say? Are you in wudu? Right? When we say hadith, we describe each other. Are you in wudu? It's a description. It's a wasf. It's a description. You can't see it on me, I can't see it on you. So we gotta ask each other, are you in wudu? This is, right, what we use it for hadith. So if a person is not in wudu, I'm not in wudu, that means I have some hadith on me. You can't see it, but I'm telling you. Impurity? Yeah, but you can't see it. Because urine is impure, right? But you can see urine on a white food, or you can see urine on something that is visible. Hadith is not visible. If I'm not in wudu, you can't sit here and tell me, you don't know if I'm in wudu or not, right? Everybody with me? Like, I'm not in wudu. So I say, I'm in a state of hadith. I'm in a state of hadith, right? I went to the bathroom, so I'm in a state of hadith. Now what I gotta do to pray? Make a ghusl, or can I just make wudu? I make wudu, alright? The point being here that hadith, whether it's the smaller form or the major form, they both break the wudu. Either one, they both break your wudu. Wudu could be broken by a lot of things. Hadith puts you in a state where you can't pray. Alright? Whether you gotta make wudu or you gotta make ghusl. Either way, you can't pray like that. And if, like he said, if you're in the salat and you do that, then it breaks the salat. Right? It breaks the salat. If a person is in the salat and all of a sudden in the salat they break wind. Right? They were in the salat praying, they broke wind, and they put themselves in a state of hadith now. Now they're not in wudu. They got to stop, go make wudu. Because you can't pray like that. طيب. It says, المراد بعدم القبول هنا عدم الصحة الصلاة وعدم إجزائها. Not accepted here means, where the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah does not accept the salat of the person who broke their wudu until they make wudu again. Doesn't accept here means that it's not valid. It's not valid. It doesn't even count. You got to pray all over again. Everybody with me? There's a difference, because we could pray right now and do everything correct. Make wudu, face the qibla, we do all the conditions, right? Are we sure that Allah accepts that prayer? No. We're not sure. Do we have to pray over? No. We don't have to pray over though. Everybody with me? We don't have to pray over. We make wudu, we clean ourselves off, we face the qibla, it's time for the salat, do all the conditions, all the shurut, do everything that we're supposed to do. Are we guaranteed that that salat is accepted? We're not guaranteed that that one is accepted. Do we have to pray over though? We don't have to pray over because we did everything that we were supposed to do. Like if a person comes and they didn't fulfill this condition, which is wudu. They had to make wudu and they didn't make wudu, and they stand and they pray. Right? They didn't make wudu. They stand and they pray. Huh? And it says Allah doesn't accept it if the person prays like this, right? Accept it meaning what? They cool? Do they have to pray again, or they already prayed? Do they have to pray again? They have to pray again, but why? They didn't complete it. They didn't do everything that they were supposed to do before they stood up to pray. Okay? It's a difference. This person is going to have to pray all over again. It doesn't even count for them. The person who made wudu, they did all the things they were supposed to do, and they stood, they prayed, and that's why we got to beg Allah and ask Allah to accept our salat. Right? We don't have to pray over. It's not that the salat is invalid, but we don't have no guarantee that that salat was accepted in Allah. Right? This person, they have to pray over because they didn't even fill all the conditions to be able to stand there and pray anyway. You with me? There's a difference between the two. طيب, he says that hadith يدل على أن الطهارة شرط لصحة الصلاة. Like he said, the hadith also proves that purification is a condition. It's a condition for the salat. It's a condition for the salat. Meaning before the salat, this has to be done. If this is not done before the salat, then the salat is invalid, that they have to pray over. Clear? Questions on that hadith? This book brothers, is the book that the ulama, many scholars advise to memorize and study after 40 hadith of Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah. Being as though it's shorter than Bulugh al-Maram. All the hadith are in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. All the hadith in this book are from Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. So a person doesn't have to worry about the grading or the checking of the hadith. And it is on hadith Al-Ahkam. These hadith have to do with the halal and the haram. This is not a hadith on aqidah. Even though a hadith, it might have an aqidah benefit, but we're not talking about that. We're looking at the halal and the haram in this hadith. طيب. عن عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص وأبي هريرة وعائشة رضي الله تعالى عنهم قالوا قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ويل للأعقاب من النار. Al-Bukhari. That the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, and this hadith is narrated by Abdullah bin Amr ibn al-As wa Abi Hurairah wa Aisha radiallahu anhum. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, وَيْلٌ لِلْأَعْقَابِ مِنَ النَّارِ. Destruction or punishment for the punishment of the hellfire for the back of the heel. Punishment of the hellfire or destruction for the back of the heel on your foot. The back of the heel on your foot. Right? The back of the heel on the foot. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said. Wail, and this word wail, and this is the word he used, wailun. It says al-adhab wal-halak, punishment. At the back of the heel, punishment to the back of the heel. Make sense? Huh? No? Make sense to you? Punishment to the back of the heel. Make sense?
Makes sense because
You got some khalafiyya tayyib. If you didn't know, it's not what they didn't know. Punishment. Punishment to the back of the heel for something. Or al-adhab. Al-adhab. طيب. The aqab is the plural of aqab, and it is the end of the foot, the back of the foot. وَالْمَرَادُ أَصْحَابُهَا. What is intended is the people, these people, a certain type of people. That punishment is for a certain type of people. Destruction. A certain type of people will be destroyed, and they will receive a punishment. Who are these people? He says, Al-Ahkam allati la yanaluha al-ma'. Either A, the back of the heel itself will be punished, or B, the people, the person whose back of the heel, it is not wet when they make wudu. They missed the spot. They missed the spot when they were making wudu. And the Prophet ﷺ said, wail, punishment and destruction for the person who makes wudu and they don't complete the wudu all the way. They miss a spot. You with me? They miss a spot. واضح؟ خلل في الطهارة والصلاة منه. He says, usually, depending on how the water is running, right? A person sticks their foot in the water, or they wipe the water. At the back of the foot, usually is the part that doesn't get hit like that, right? So, a person washes most of the foot, but not all of the foot, right? They stuck their foot under there and they talking to somebody about something, and they go to the next foot. Then they walk off and they go pray. And they didn't complete the wudu because the back of the foot is dry. So therefore they didn't wash the foot completely. To complete the wudu completely and to pay attention and give them serious importance to it. It says, أخبر أن العذاب منصب عليه وعلى صاحبه المتهاون في طهارته الشرعية. And he's telling us, he's informing us that there will be a punishment for the person or for the actual foot itself, for those who are negligent and lazy when it comes to the wudu, when it comes to wudu for the salat, when it comes to the wudu for the salat. All of this is only in this text right here. We only talk about these are hadith, restricting it to pulling it from this text. Tayyib. From this text, what is one benefit you get from this text, from this hadith? Waylun al-Aqab min an-nar. Destruction or punishment or the hellfire for these people or for these feet, the back of these feet. Huh? One benefit. Huh? The importance of wudu.
How you like the benefit I got that if you just miss one part that you need instruction for.
Yeah. These ain't trick questions, y'all. I'm not trying to trick you. I'm trying to show you how do the early man benefit from these. It's a short hadith, but how do they pull out? He got here listed, and this is a summarized book. This is a short book. 3 benefits here after he summarized the hadith. Then he brought 3 benefits. The benefits are coming from this right here. This is how they do it. Sometimes we might look at a hadith or ayah, and we might say, how do they get that from that? Right? Where does it say that in the hadith? Or where does it say that in the ayah? Like a lot of times people say, where does it say that in the Quran? Where does it say you can't do this in the Quran? Right? Where's the hadith that says you can do this or you can't do that? Right? It's called istinbat. Looking at the hadith and extracting benefits from the hadith. That what? What you said? The benefit?
The benefit, what you said, which one benefit that
Yeah.
you took from the hadith, and I said the importance of just how the hill is important.
The hill is important. The importance of, not the hill, the whole limb. The importance of covering that whole limb when you make wudu, not leaving one dry spot. Right? Because now, right here, he's only mentioning the back of the heel, because the elbow is from the arm. So I'm making wudu and I came right here, right? I did all this, and it's still dry. It's ash. You can see it. Does that count, or is it only for the foot?
It counts for all the limbs, right?
It counts for
all the limbs that supposed to be washed.
all the limbs that are supposed to be washed. Tayyib. Where you get that from this text?
Because he's talking about this.
Mm.
No, because he's talking.
Because he specifically mentioned the back of the foot.
Tayyib.
Text.
Okay. He said it counts for the elbow too.
Right.
How from this?
Because, like I said, he said in the text, the back of the foot, but that could also mean the back of the elbow, the back of the hand.
Tayyib. He washed half his face. The back of the face?
No, not the back of the face.
But the
The
whole
back of the head, no?
The face now, the face.
Okay.
If we're going to use the back of, does the face count
Yeah, the face. Yeah.
from this text?
well, he's talking about the heel, right? The heel of the foot.
Yes.
So he's talking about part of the foot.
Tayyib.
So the whole foot is a limb.
Tayyib.
So the same way it would be if it was your arms or your face.
Tayyib. Everybody with me? Sit right here, sit right here. Thank you. He's gonna bring it in 1 minute. Tayyib. Any other benefits? We're gonna get to that, But any other benefits? Huh?
Other than that, just the importance of the wudu itself is fulfilling one of the conditions.
For the salat.
Exactly.
Tayyib. Share. You look. Al-inaya, al-i'tina. Paying attention, really not just doing this and assuming that you got everything. Right? You could have missed something.
There's a punishment for the one who leaves off something that they're supposed to do. So that's the punishment for the one that leaves off that what they're supposed to do. What about the punishment for the one who does it? How much more so the punishment for the one who does it?
If there's a punishment, there's a punishment for the one who leaves off an obligation. Tayyib. So
The punishment for the one who does innovation is more, their punishment is even more.
So the one who innovates, the punishment is greater. Tayyib. That's, they would call, some would say ba'id. Not that you, meaning for this text, that's like, some things come from here, some things come from here, and your other knowledge. So that you come up with an answer, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but I want you to use just exactly what's in front of us. He says, وجوب الاعتناء بأعضاء الوضوء. This shows, the hadith proves that a person should pay serious attention to all of the limbs when they're making wudu, right? Even though the hadith only mentions the foot, this hadith mentions the foot. He says, وَعَدَمُ الْإِخْلَالِ بِشَيْءٍ مِنْهَا, and that a person should stay away from falling short when washing any parts. That we should try our best not to turn up short when washing anything when it comes to wudu. وَقَدْ نَصَ الْحَدِيث عَلَى الْقَدَمَيْنِ وَبَقِيَةَ الْأَعْضَاءِ مَقِيسَ عَلَيْهِمَا. This hadith mentions the feet, right? The back of the heels. He said, but the rest of the body parts, the rest of the limbs of wudu are maqisa alayha. Or they use qiyas. They use qiyas for the arms, the face, and the rest of the body parts. We know qiyas. Qiyas is it's a form of dalil. What's the dalil, right? We know Quran is the proof, Sunnah is a proof, consensus, ijma is a proof, and qiyas, analytical deduction. No? Tayyib. We know that liquor is haram, right? Drinking liquor is haram. Tayyib, what about other things that may not have been there, like, weed, whatever intoxicants that people use now, but it's not liquor. Do we say that only liquor is haram because this is what the Prophet ﷺ said? But a person might say, well, he didn't say this. He said liquor, khamr. Allah mentions khamr. Allah didn't say weed. Allah didn't say heroin, dope, whatever it is. Allah didn't say, he only said khamr. So how do we come up with the ruling that this one is, right? That's a whole issue in itself that we don't want to go too far into that. But it's a form of dalil that the ulama use. If they take the same ruling based on two things carry the same qualities. They carry the same qualities, so they can be given the same ruling. And that's really, really super, super general. Real general.
The same quality, you mean like the same effect?
The same effect, yeah. Khamr makes you drink it, it fogs your mind, and this may fog your mind. So they might look at it and say, well, they do the same thing. So they get the same ruling. But that's real basic. That's not really giving it its right as far as dirasa, as far as the reality of what qiyas is. طيب. مع وجود النصوص لها. طيب. Number 2, he says, الوعيد الشديد المخل في وضوئه. The serious threat that the Prophet ﷺ gave for the person who doesn't make their wudu properly. It's a serious threat for the person who just doesn't make a proper wudu. All of this is based on this hadith. He says, thirdly, إن الواجب في الرجلين الغسل في الوضوء. What's obligatory when it comes to the feet is washing them. That the feet have to be washed. That it's not enough to just wipe them. If it was enough to wipe them, then that means what? It wouldn't be a problem. Because here the hadith is talking about the dry part of the foot. Right? Therefore the whole foot has to be washed. And exactly the whole arm has to be washed. The whole face has to be washed. The head has to be wiped. It's basic, but this hadith, even though it's short, it's a serious threat for the one who is deficient and they make mistakes in the wudu. And sometimes we take it for granted. It says wudu, we do it every day, 5 times, many days we do it a day, and we think we already know it. We think we already know it, and we could be coming up short a lot, possibly. Even if you ran the water on your foot or on your arm. That is what they call dalk. Sunnah, dalk, that you rub it. Make sure it hit everything. You just stick your arm under the water and then you're talking, the phone ring, you answer it with the other hand. right? When the wudu could possibly 30 seconds to a minute and some change, right? We got to call ID, call them back. But we doing this, so making wudu, the phone rings, we answer the phone. And then we answer the phone and say what? I'm in the bathroom. They say, Saudi, I'm in the bathroom. Right? They could have waited. Then you turn around back to your wudu and say, did I do my hand? Yeah, I'm on my... Like it's just... And then go to the masjid and pray. Didn't look here, no inayah, no real ihtimam, no real concern with the wudu, right? I'm doing it though, I'm making the wudu. I'm making the wudu, but no real concern of making sure that I'm doing everything the way it's supposed to be done, because my salat depends on if my wudu is correct. If my wudu is incorrect, I have no salat. From the conditions of the salat is Taharah, wudu. At the least, I gotta know my wudu I did to the best of my ability. If I'm doing it wrong and I need to be taught, that's a whole other issue, right? But if I claim I know what I'm doing, I know how to make wudu, I'm teaching other people to make wudu, right? And then we don't give any inayah, any importance to it or pay attention to it. That we watch each other. Allah Akbar, it's brotherhood. We scared to do that shit. We scared. We don't, we don't really want people staring at us like that when we're doing our stuff. We don't want to be corrected. Allah Musta'an. Allah Musta'an. That's how you grow. That's how the brotherhood grows. You say, yo, can you look at this real quick? That we can't be scared to make mistakes in front of each other. We can't be scared to make mistakes in front of each other. That we watch each other and say, yo, when I do it like this, did I hit the back of my, did I get all of that? Or how you do yours? When you do it, it takes courage that I might be wrong, but I'm gonna show you anyway. I could be wrong, but I'm gonna show you. And if I'm wrong, you can correct me. But we so on the defense, we don't want people looking at us. We don't want to, Allah Musta'an. Tayyib. Time. The next hadith, I think we'll stop until next week. The next hadith, hadith al-Rabi'. We'll stop there. Any questions? Fadl.
Should you talk while you perform wudu?
Should you?
Or, I can't say it's permissible, but, coming through the ranks, like, you shouldn't talk while you perform wudu.
Yeah, why shouldn't you talk while you perform wudu?
That's what I'm asking you.
I'm asking you now. Why shouldn't you talk while you're making wudu?
Because you might forget.
Forget what?
Like where you at in the step,
Exactly.
and then you might skip.
There you go.
Alright.
Can you talk while you're making wudu? Is it permissible? It's permissible to talk. Meaning, if you're making wudu and you talking, it's not going to break your wudu because you're talking. But then you got to start your wudu over because I was talking, right? But should you really talk if there's no need to while you're making wudu? It could cause you to forget something. You might skip a leg, skip a limb, right? Skip how many times you did it. That's another issue, right?
Once it's
We ain't gonna get into all that.
once it's permissible.
Allah. You might forget. You know, if you're talking, sometimes you come out and you say, damn, did I do my head? Right? Based on what? Somebody was downstairs calling you and you was talking to somebody through the house downstairs screaming back and forth, right? And you end up forgetting. You might miss a whole limb. Now the question is, dang, do I gotta start all over or can I just start from here? Whole bunch of problems attached to it because a wudu which takes approximately 45 seconds to a minute and a half, right? We couldn't hold out on the conversation. Not to say you can't talk, but should you talk? Probably not. It's probably better than not to talk and focus to make sure that when we stand before Allah, that we stand in the best the best hay'ah. As he said in his other hadith, that we've been guided من أراد الصلاة أن لا يدخل فيها إلا على حال حسنة وهيئة جميلة. That these hadith guide us and it shows us that when we want to pray, if a person wants to pray, that they shouldn't start to pray except that they're on their best hal, in the best situation that they're in as far as cleanliness, as far as being clean. And that's not even including the clothing that we wear when we go to pray. Just being clean. أحسنها هيئة جميلة, and that we're in the best. لأنها صلة الوثيقة بين الرب وعبده, because this is a connection that a person has between their Lord. Between the person they stand before Allah, and they recite the Quran and they make dua, right? All of this is between a person and their Lord. وهي طريق إلى مناجات إلى مناجاته, and it is the person's road to success, the salat. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ told us, or shows, these hadiths show how important it is to give importance to it. It's a condition. Wudu, the Taharah is a condition for the salat. If the condition is not fulfilled, then the salat is invalid. It's small, we do it every day. We might say it's new shahada stuff for new Muslims, but if we're not making wudu right, then the salat is invalid. Now we got to ask ourselves, do we, in this town, in this city, Philly, do we have an excuse before Allah? Do we have an excuse before Allah, Yawm al-Qiyamah, on not knowing how to make wudu?
No.
It's a question.
No.
Does anybody think we got an excuse?
No.
The not knowing how to make wudu? All these masjids in the city, all of these Muslims in the city,
All the people you know.
all the people you know that's Muslim, that you know more than you, that we don't have an excuse not to know the fundamentals, the basics. That it's no excuse that we don't take time, just like we take time out for everything else, right? Sometimes we pull up just to get the oil checked. Just want to make sure my oil is good on the car, right? It's oil on the car, just want to make sure it's good though. I got to change, I got the date, but I want to make sure it's good. That we check the same thing for our Taharah and our wudu and stuff like that, to make sure we're doing stuff right. Taharah, al-Fatiha. Any other questions? Nah. Tayyib. Yeah, hadith number 4, inshallah, next week, discussing, it's a couple things in this hadith. From cleaning the nose out, wudu, making istinja, how many times to make istinja. Another issue about water, waking up. What should you do when you wake up? Touching water before you wake up. It's a couple things in the next hadith, a couple different benefits. About washing your hands when you wake up.
I have a question about the double intention.
The double intention.
Yeah, so for example, you're invited to a wedding, right? But it's in Mecca. So can you have the intention to do your Umrah and to go to the wedding?
You going again?
So you got an invite, right? Invitation to someone, they're getting married. But it's in Mecca.
It's in Mecca.
Yeah. So from my understanding, the Prophet every time he entered Mecca, he would do Umrah, right?
Right.
So can you hear that double intention? You're going to do Umrah and to the wedding.
You can, but one is going to take precedence over the other. It's going to determine the level of the two actions. Whatever the greater action is, the intention should be for the greater action. You with me? The greater action between attending a wedding and performing Umrah, a greater action is the Umrah. So if you make the Umrah, if you make your niyyah for the Umrah and you're there in Mecca, you're going to go to the wedding anyway. Right? But if you make your intention to just go straight, you're going to go into Mecca and don't go make Umrah and go straight to a wedding. You with me? Everybody clear? You go into Mecca, you're going to go to Mecca and not make Umrah? Just go to Mecca and go to a wedding? Lion fire, as they say. And, right? But if you go into Mecca, the intention is I'm going to make Umrah. Where's the wedding? It's in Mecca? Oh, well, since it's in Mecca, I'm going to make Umrah, and then I'll just come to there after, like that. The greater thing should take precedence. Inshallah. Khalas? What are you doing?
Just read.
Oh. Khalas?
I
That's
thought
it?
it might have been a question on you first.
You didn't see nothing. Khalas? Tayyib. We'll do hadith number 4 next week with istinja, the cleaning of the nose and wudu. And the hukum, the ruling on washing your hands when you wake up. Do you have to wash your hands when you wake up out of your sleep before you touch a vessel of water or not? We'll deal with that. Huh? Put water in your nose for the wudu? We'll deal with that next week, inshallah. طيب وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.